Biden, Joe Biden. Oh, hey. Sorry, guys. I was singing one of the most popular songs that just came out. Got stuck in my head. Anyway, we're going to start the presentation for those who join us later at exactly 5 minutes into this. We're going to try anyway. Exactly 5 minutes into this, we will start the presentation on the lie of rising seawater from global warming. So, we have Whale of Beef, Templar Knight, never mind. Hello, Michael Pyle. CK, Armor of Light. Angus, good to see you, never mind. Sticks, hello, Sticks. Hello, JT. Hello, Bonnie. Corey Murphy, Markio 306, Carbide. Hopefully I got you all. Marty 80, Templar Knight. Angwell Tordoff. Your favorite song. I didn't actually say the F though. I was saying uck. Hello, Maria. Michael B. Hello. Yeah, we got 30 people combined on Mr. Thrive and Survive and Wake the Republic combined. We're broadcasting live on both. Thanks to everybody. I want to thank Peter. I'm not going to say your last name. I don't know if people want their last name given out or not. I want to thank Peter for the PayPal donation from the last stream. Usually PayPal allows me to reply back and say thanks or whatever, but it won't let me do it with you. I don't know why. Maybe you don't have an email address associated with them, but I thought you had to have an email address associated with them. I don't know why. You're the first person I've tried to reply to, and it just won't let me do it. Caramel, nice name. Carrie Roberts, hello. We're going to be responding to our old friend Polster X. You in the chat, Polster, or are you going to check in later? But I want to show you something that Mike Ball sent me. This is very interesting. Very interesting. See the White House over there in red? That happened last night at midnight when it turned October 1st in Washington, D.C. Red lights on there. Now, one of the Q posts, take this for what you will, one of the Q posts said, Red October, the hunt is on, and that was dropped on 10/21 or October 1st. So it was exactly on the day, a couple years earlier. So yes, Red October. So I just wanted to point that out. Maybe we'll try to catch the White House live. In fact, while I'm talking to you, let me see if I can see if it shows up tonight for me on YouTube. Some nights it does, some nights it doesn't. Nope, not showing up tonight. Well, let's try. Hold on. Maybe it is. I got it. Oh, check it out. Have we changed our clocks yet? I don't think we have. But check this out. Here's the White House right now. How about that? Nice and red. Nice and red. So they haven't changed the clock, so they just kept it red. We'll see if something changes at midnight or an hour from now, if we remember to get back here. So there's that. How much are we into the stream now? 4 minutes, 25 seconds. Okay. What I'm going to do is, I actually have these, but I don't have them set up so I can show you. I'm just going to read 2 of the comments that I saved. And I can't get back to the third one, but I will tell you what it said. This goes back to the global warming is going to cause oceans to rise. Bullcrap. It's total bunk, and I'm going to show you. All right. And what he said was, Well, first of all, he says water doesn't expand when it cools unless it's below 4 degrees Celsius. It's densest at 4 degrees, gets gradually less dense below that and less dense above it. So we were talking about if you took a Coke bottle and you put it out in the Arizona heat and you let it heat up, it isn't going to bust the bottle. Now, there is one thing that could cause the bottle to bust if it gets too hot. And that's the little bit of air that's trapped in there. It's trying so hard to expand out because its pressure is much higher. And as it gets hotter, air is going to act different than water. It's going to press down on that Coke or water, whatever you have in there. And that may actually at some point cause it to burst. But what I'm probably going to do is I'm probably going to find the cheapest kind of mason jars I can find. I want them cheap because I want them to bust easy. And I'm going to fill them to the brim with water, seal it up, and maybe I'll even put salt in it. So we can say, okay, so we're simulating salt water. And put it out in the Arizona heat. I mean, we're talking about ocean water temperatures rising a few degrees in the next 100 years. And that's, you know what they're telling you? They're telling you that it's going to cause what? Flooding. We're going to lose coastline. People's houses are going to be destroyed. The fear factor. And what it is it's the same story over and over from so-called experts who they march out there, these marbleheads that are getting paid on the back. It's all about money, always. These are the because you have people like Polster and others who believe whatever they come out and say without even digging into it, because they're the authority. They know. Like take Dr. F, right? He was up there with Trump. He's the authority. What did he say? No one in America should be wearing a mask. No one. He wrote in 2008 a paper stating that the worst thing that they ever did during the Spanish flu was make people wear masks because it increased their chances of getting bacterial pneumonia. That's a fact. You can look it up. He wrote a paper on it. Then when the narrative needed to be changed, he came out and changed it and said, no, everybody needs to, social distance, wear masks, blah, 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 blah. He even gave reasons why you shouldn't wear the mask, because people will touch the mask and it gets the germs on it, it just spreads it to your hands then, and on it. And then I saw the nice little video of him. He's on stage, he's kind of fiddling with his mask and all that. Oh, this is the same guy that said wear a mask and then went to a Washington Nationals game. He had the mask on, but not over his face. He had it down here, talking to the people around him. These people are just hypocrites. And by the way, he spent 98%, maybe 99% of his time or more as a physician, but sitting behind a desk. He hasn't been in the clinical arena. He's been helping get patents on certain things and whatever. I'll let you do the research on that, what he's into, what companies he's invested in. So then he said, the reason why I said that, and this is another lie. I was in the medical field for a short period of time. He said the reason why I said that was I didn't want the American people going out and buying up all the masks so that our health people couldn't have it. Unadulterated trash garbage. They have two totally different supply chains. Totally. The entire American public could have went out and cleaned out all the stores of masks overnight. And if your doctor, hospital, whatever needed masks, it wouldn't affect that one bit. It's a different supply chain. And even if it was the same, all Trump and Fauci and all them had to do is get up on stage and say, Walmart, whoever's selling masks, please save them for our healthcare workers. But that's not even necessary. So he told a lie on top of the lie. It's like the same authorities told you that the Gulf of Tonkin incident was caused by the Vietnamese attacking one of our ships when it wasn't them at all. It was the same authorities that told you you were a conspiracy theorist if you denied the fact that Lee Harvey Oswald shot Kennedy by himself, until they declassified all the paper and found out that the conspiracy theorists were 100% correct. It was the same authorities who told you Hitler was dead until in the same declassification of the JFK papers, they had in there that Hitler survived the war and was in Argentina or wherever he was, Venezuela, wherever. He was in South America, and as late as 1958 was still alive. See, what they didn't want is they didn't want all the people in the world. They vilified Hitler so bad. I'm not saying he should have been or shouldn't have been. They just vilified him so bad. He was the personification of evil on earth because the authorities said he was. So if you found out that he survived the war, the people would have gone crazy until you got him. But then you get into international incidents where you're going into countries like Venezuela or whatever, Argentina, wherever he was, and you just can't go and do that. So that would have created more problems. And I could go on and on and on and on with the lies that the authorities have told us. And you know what the problem is? Most of these authorities don't know what the hell they're talking about. They're puppets. They just go out there and parrot it. Parrot. It's like the climate change people. Remember when they got caught fudging the data in the UK? And it was a big story all over the place. Well, now they've had time to change the narrative a little bit. You can get fact checked. No, that wasn't really true. Yes, it was true. Let me share this. This is all leading up to where we're getting here. Because you have these people like Foster, and I don't blame him individually. This is just the way people have been brought up. And the more education you have, the more you're indoctrinated. It's like this crazy electrical engineer who's challenging me on meteorological stuff. It's like, buddy, do you know who you're talking to? Oh, we had to have thermodynamics and all in engineering. Yeah, but you evidently just listened to what they said and never actually did the science. Let me show you the screen. "31,000 scientists say no convincing evidence." This is global warming. And I'm going to show you how global warming would not cause the oceans to expand. All right? Only 12% of those who signed the paper saying that there was a problem with global warming have an affiliation with atmospheric, earth, or environmental science. 12% of the people who signed the petition about, oh my God, we're going to have, the oceans are going to rise, and we're going to have fires, and the temperatures are going to go up, and we have droughts. I saw a commercial. Just saw a commercial for a Christian cinema where they're talking about the drought in Arizona and the fires, and she needs to bring in solar panels and electric energy and all that stuff. Otherwise, we're going to lose the state. Hello, guess what? Guess what? If it rains anymore, we're going to turn green like the East Coast. The drought is long gone. Everything takes care of itself. It might take a little bit of time, but everything takes care of itself. I think you could probably take lit matches up I-17 in Arizona and throw them out the window, because that's where they usually start, those fires. And I think everyone would go at it so freaking wet. I see mosquitoes for the first time ever all over the place. Gnats, flies, all kind of creatures you don't normally see unless you have a lot of rain. There is no drought in Arizona. It's gone. All right, so. It must be true because Greta was so pretty when she was angry. All right, so let's read the second comment. Ricky Wilkerson, thank you so much. God bless you. Just got a Patreon. I got another Patreon too I haven't addressed. I got to do that. Here's the other comment. Then I'll try to remember the... There's like 14 replies under it. Like he's going to... In fact, one of the things he said was, tell me what it is and I'll explain it to you. Hello? What's your credentials? You're going to explain it to me? You're going to parrot the parrots? You're going to parrot Fauci and say, now we have to wear a mask? And we should, because you should follow CDC guidelines. Right? They can't even see that they're being lied to. One of the two is a lie. Not wear a mask, wear a mask. The last thing somebody should do is wear a mask. It helps spread the disease. Wear a mask. It helps not spread the disease. One of the two has to be a lie. Hello? These are your authorities that you believe, the government agencies you believe. They're paid liars, and it's all for the bucks. They're trying to get the U.S., I don't know if Biden's gotten us back in the Paris Climate Accord, where we're going to be the leading country sending hundreds of millions of dollars over time to Paris to stop global warming. What is money going to Paris going to do to save the climate? What are they going to do? Come up with a big study that's going to cost $200 million that says we should go to more battery-powered automobiles and we should burn less fossil fuels. What about the rest of the money? That was like a $30 little thing you typed up. It's all bullcrap. What are they going to do with, let's say they get $1 trillion. How are they going to solve global warming? By sending money to the Paris Climate Accord. Think. They're not going to. What they're going to do is, like they always do, they have schemes to drain you of your wallet. If there's money involved, and again, these people are not experts. When you, half the time you turn on, you want to learn something about vaccines and how well they work and everything, you get the big medical doctor, Bill Gates, sitting on a stage talking about what? He's got zero training in medical field. Zero. He barely has training in the computer field. He took his ideas from Steve Jobs and Steve Jobs and Wozniak, and created his own country, his own company. Basically a country with the money he's got. And now it's his job to go vaccinate Africa because he's the expert on viruses. He should be. His is the only operating system that gets infected with viruses. So he should be the virus expert. It's just not the human virus. But he's the authority. The news media, everybody props him up like he's the authority. What should we do now, Bill Gates? I mean, they have the American people and the world so indoctrinated, especially the American people. And the more education you get, the worse it gets. Because you're in that system and they indoctrinated you well. I know, because I didn't get my degree till later in life when I was awake. And then I saw it from day one. Yeah, I had to go along with the plan to pass and all that stuff. But I could see what they were doing from day one. It's nothing but indoctrination from day one. All right, here he says, how come this got cut off? Just a minute. Demonstrate what? I told him I'd demonstrate it for him. Why the ocean water isn't going to cover us all. A straw man of water expanding when it turns to ice. Yes, it does. That wasn't the point. You said if the ocean, and I don't know why I cut off. See if I can get the second half. You said if the ocean warms, it would contract. No, what I said was if there was global warming that caused the oceans to warm, if anything, the oceans would contract, not expand. But it's not a direct thing. So that's why I'm here. I'm going to give you the science. So, yeah, I'm parsing words, but the end result is the same. If we have something going on that's going to cause the ocean to expand, it will actually contract. And I'm going to explain it why. This is false. Water becomes less dense, and so it has a greater volume unit per mass as it increases in temperature above 4 degrees Celsius. This is a demonstrable fact. Water becomes less dense, and so it has a greater volume per unit mass as it increases in temperature above 4 degrees Celsius. That's a contradictory term. So I should be able to take something just above 39 degrees Fahrenheit, 4 degrees Celsius, fill it to the brim, and give no room for expansion. By the time I get to even 40 degrees, 50 degrees Fahrenheit, 60 degrees Fahrenheit, I should have a busted bottle. Whereas I can take that same 40-degree starting point, seal it to the brim, cool it 1 degree, bam, it's going to pop. These are just, I'm the straw man. This is what happens when you have somebody commenting who does not understand the science. God has created a system where everything has checks and balances. Everything has checks and balances. I don't recall there being a problem with ocean levels dropping when we had the mini ice age in the late 1700s, when Washington crossed the Delaware, and it was so hard because it was frozen in most places. The Delaware River was frozen. The Chesapeake Bay was frozen. Ice was covering Michigan, Minnesota, even farther south, overland, ice sheets. I don't recall them saying, well, we can't pull into the harbor because the water's dropped, because we have global cooling. And that was a big cool one. I hear you, Mike. I am going to go down to 1. I just got to get everybody to sign up at Wake the Republic, because if I don't, and they take down Mr. Thrive and Survive, which they're one strike away from doing, good morning, Noah, then no one's even going to get notified. I mean, you get notified anyway, but they're not subscribed, so they'll just think I disappeared off the face of the earth, like I think a lot of people have, until I finally see it come up in a feed or something like, oh, why am I not getting that? I'm subscribed to them. I'm supposed to get notifications. It's just YouTube. But anyway, I get the point for sure. So let's look at something now. Let's get into and guys, I'm going to give you basics, as basic as I can make this. It is much more complex. There is enormous amounts of God built-in protections with everything on the earth. And if you're not in that science, if you're not in atmospheric science, meteorologists, it's called like the organization, NOAA, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. It covers both. Now, admittedly, I know a lot more about the atmosphere than the ocean. Just because you deal with it more, it affects you more. I dealt with the ocean more than most meteorologists because I was out at sea dealing with it. I dropped bathythermographs to check the different layers and temperatures below us, as well as launch balloons to see what was above us. And guess what? The atmosphere affects the water, and the water affects the atmosphere, as we're going to see. Let me go ahead and share this. We're going to look at some graphs here, or some pictures. We got to make this like kindergarten for people that. Who are you? Are you the authority? No, I'm not the authority, because if I was, I wouldn't be saying this, because I'd be getting a healthy paycheck not to say it, or to say the opposite. All right, let's see what you guys are seeing. So let's do this. We're going to start in the top left area here. As soon as I can get back to it. This graphic right here on the left. All right. I know this is the air. This is going to be important. What happens if the land heats too much? How is it taken care of? What you have is hot air rises, because it's defying gravity somehow. But see, they'll say, it's pulling it down to 9.8 meters per second squared. There's another response to that. They don't understand displacement even. They come up with stupid stuff like that that's so laughable. A hot air balloon goes up because the air around it's being pulled down at 9.8 meters per second squared. Are you that daft and stupid to believe that? How come the air wasn't being pulled down at 9.8 meters per second squared before you launched the balloon? All of a sudden, pushing a balloon through it causes it to be pulled? So stupid. Anyway, hot air rises. As it goes up, it expands and cools. Then the cool air sinks. The cool air replaces the hot air. This is how we get a balance on the earth. Happens every day, all the time. Now, let's assume, by the way, I'm going to use their terms because God knows we can't throw in something like flat earth or something like that because that's beyond what they can handle. So I'm going to use global, hemisphere. I'm going to use their terms. Keep it simple. Let's not give them a new vocabulary to be like freaking out over. Hot air rises. When hot air rises, that lowers the pressure at the surface. And someone will come in the comments, maybe even Poster. No, that's not true. Really? Anyway, it causes lower pressure at the surface. As the air descends, that's high pressure. You always have a dome of high pressure and a trough of low pressure. It's like an upside down bowl, and the air flows out from the bowl. That's high pressure. A low is a upright side bowl, like this shape down here, and the air flows into it, like air flows into low pressure systems. Because the air is rising, it's got to be replaced by air around it. It's nature saying, okay, I have to fill the low pressure area. So the warmer the air gets globally, the more you're going to lower sea surface atmospheric pressure. Let me say that again because this is important. The lower or the warmer the air gets over the earth because of global warming, which is crap anyway, but we're going to say it's true. And we're going to say this is exactly what's going to happen. Pressures at the surface, we should already notice because we're supposed to be well into this. Our standard barometric pressure should be dropping, but it's not because people don't know to connect the two. If we were suddenly 5 degrees warmer around the earth, instead of 29.92 inches of mercury, we'd probably be at 29.74 or whatever, because that's how much less pressure on the earth the air would be exerting. Now, we've talked about this. I didn't know this was going to come up again, but we just talked about this in two streams. If you have a container up here, or you make this a void in here, like space, if you make it a void, and you stick the voided, you pump out all the air out of this inverted glass, and you stick it in a tube of mercury or water, it doesn't matter. The air pressure, as it's showing here, atmospheric pressure pushes down on the mercury. It will push it up to about 29.96 inches of mercury, which is standard barometric pressure. When low pressure systems come near you, this will fall because there's less pressure pushing down on the water or mercury. We're going to use water because we're going to be talking about the ocean. I've had a water barometer before. I've told you this. The scale indicates air pressure. I'm going to try to keep this as simple as possible. Lower the air pressure, less is pushed down on the water. Got that? Less pressure downward on water. Okay. So when we lower pressure because of global warming, surface winds on the earth are going to do what? They're going to increase. They're going to increase because you're going to have a greater disparity between high and low pressure. The greatest disparity we see is with tornadoes. Tornadoes can be 2 inches of mercury lower in pressure than the air right around them. That's why we can have 300 plus mile per hour winds around a tornado. The second strongest is hurricanes. Hurricanes are generally about an inch. If they're really strong hurricanes, really strong, they're about an inch lower than standard barometric pressure. And you get 200 and some mile per hour winds just with 1 inch drop. In fact, we get 200 mile per hour. The last hurricane we had that was 200 miles per hour, it was less than a half inch different than the air pressure than standard barometric pressure. A half inch. That was it. And it was 200 mile per hour winds. There's more. So just the slightest, again, if we have global warming, we're going to have increased wind around the earth. That's just a fact. Back in Noah's day, when it didn't rain, I don't even think they had wind because I think there was equal. You know what causes wind? The actual definition of what causes wind is unequal heating of the Earth's surface. unequal heating of the Earth's surface. So if you heat it up more, it's going to make it even more unequal. Now, in case somebody says density, this is density in water right here. This right here. This is 0 degrees, so this is freezing. By the way, ocean water does not freeze at 32 degrees. It freezes in the 20s, like 28, 29 degrees, something like that. Can't remember the exact number because of the salt. That's why they put salt down on the streets in places that have snow a lot, like the mid-Atlantic area in Northeast. They put salt on there because it will lower the freezing point of water. And unless the temperature is below 27 degrees, it can be 30, 31, whatever. It's going to melt because it's salt. As you can see, now there's a little blip that you can't even see on here. But just before 0, it like at 9 degrees, actually right in here. If you can, I don't know what you can see. Let's do this. Right about there. Let's change the color. That is where water is actually the most dense, salt water and regular water. And as you can see, as you get warmer, the density drops. Now, there are other factors to get into how much, what's the word I want to use? How much expansion or contraction happens. But you definitely get contraction as you move towards colder, and you tend to move away from contraction, everything else being equal, as you get warmer. There are other factors, but I'm not going to get into that deep. Now, let's look at the ocean. Let's look at this one first over here. Most people haven't heard of the thermocline. What you have with water, with the ocean, this is this line right here. That line right there, that's surface water. Okay, actually you can some people will say now it's really 200 meters. But you know where surface ice is? It's way up here. Surface ice. Keep that in mind, because one of Pauster's arguments is because when the ice melts, that's going to put fresh water into the ocean, and so that's going to decrease the salinity of the ocean, and that causes the ocean to expand. But we're going to take a look at that. So you have surface ice that goes to about here. That's it. We're not talking about glaciers. We're not talking about icebergs, because they form on land. This is what's covering the ocean. And they say 15% of the ocean's surface is covered with ice. Now let's demonstrate that over here. You see this little box? This is probably a little too big, but that's about 15% of this whole thing. Now imagine this is the entire world. This is the amount that has surface ice. Now let's look at going all the way down 1,000 meters. The ocean is unbelievably huge. The atmosphere is actually more huge. But anyway, it's unbelievably huge, even just the surface. So you're telling me that 100% of this melts. All of a sudden, the salinity of this whole thing is going to drop to such a degree that it's going to cause expansion and we're going to flood out. Give me a break. I don't know what the exact numbers are, but if I look at this, how many of these blocks can I put in here? I mean, we're probably talking about less than 1% of the total water, maybe even less than 1/10 of 1% of the total water in the oceans contains ice, and it's up here at the surface. Now, what happens is when the ocean freezes, when it's new, all right, when it's new, it's a mixture. It's still salty. It takes a year or two or whatever for the salt to start seeping out into the ocean. So this little teeny bit did, when it froze, let's just say all of a sudden, bam, today we got 15% of the surface not the thermocline. Oh, the thermocline, by the way, this is important. When water gets down here, it starts dropping in temperature. The thermocline is what's known also as a mixing layer. That's going to be very important in a minute. All this will tie together, and you're not going to get this from anybody else. But I'm telling you, this is going to be something you can use for anyone who says it's a fact that it's going to cause the oceans to expand, because it's bull crap. This mixing layer right here. Underneath that, it's called deep water. So you have surface, thermocline, deep water. And down here, you can see it's about 3 degrees Celsius. And up here, it's about 13 degrees Celsius, 55 degrees. Okay? So this little bit right here, if it all melted at once, how much salinity is it going to drop? Well, as we're going to see, the salinity actually probably is going to go up. This talk about a straw man. This is a straw man argument right there. Wait till you'll see. All right, so I've explained that. What else on here do I need to explain before we go on? Let me make it smaller and see if we covered everything. Oh, there's one thing we do need to cover. This is the atmosphere now, not the ocean, the atmosphere. Whoops. What you are seeing is, pardon me a moment, this graph right here is telling you how much moisture the atmosphere can hold by temperature. So we have here below freezing, 20 degrees below. Can't hold any water whatsoever, right? By the way, if you ever want to know who's going to get the heaviest snowfall, it's find out who's going to be, like you're looking at a state, who's going to get the most snow. The place that ends up with about 27 degrees Fahrenheit, give or take a degree and a half, they're going to get the most snow. Why? Because it's cold enough at that temperature to where none of it's melting as it comes down. None of it melts when it hits. But it's warm enough to where it's holding enough moisture that can be squeezed out into snow. Generally, 27 degrees Fahrenheit is your perfect snow temperature. When it gets down to like 22, 23 degrees, you can get a lot of snow, but you're not getting the whole potential. Just a little side thing there. All right, let's do this here. You know, when you go to these little parks and everything, you want to see where you are. You are here. Actually, I should probably do it like this. You're right about here. There's the bullseye. All right? That's where we are right now. And they're expecting the temperatures to keep going up and up and up. What happens? And guess what? As you can see, this is not a linear. In other words, we're not getting this. All right? It starts becoming exponential. Sort of like the U.S. debt. How much do you have to print to service it? Except that's a greater hockey stick in this. So I can't remember what the formula was, but if you double the temperature roughly, you can 4 times the capacity of the ocean or the capacity of the air to hold water without it condensing and coming back down as rain. That's what we're talking about here. So according to them, we're on the global warming curve that's going to take us right here. And the air is going to hold this is, by the way, this is maximum water contact, 10 to the third kilograms per meter cubed. This is per meter of atmosphere cubed, how much it can hold. 1 cubic meter. How many cubic meters of atmosphere are above our head? A lot. More than what's in the ocean under us. So you start warming up, all of a sudden, The air can hold much more moisture without turning into clouds and raining down on us. That's important. What else happens? That means as you start to climb up this line, the relative humidity, that's how much, if you have a 50% relative humidity, that means the air around you that's 50% relative humidity, it can hold 1/2 of the water it can absolutely hold at the most under normal conditions without turning into droplets and squeezing out as rain or as a cloud. If the humidity is 25%, it's only holding 1/4 of the max amount. We get 2% relative humidity sometimes here in Arizona, sometimes 1%. That means the air is only holding 1% of the total amount it can hold. So as everybody else starts to get closer to our temperatures here in Arizona, because that's what global warming is, the air is suddenly holding much more water, and it means because it's drier, when it comes in contact with water, it evaporates easier. You have more evaporation. So when the warmer air comes in contact with the ocean, and you can see we're getting ready to go up the curve, we're going to get much more evaporation. Guess what evaporation does to salinity? That's 100% of the whole ocean is going to evaporate more, not 15% of just the surface. You have the whole surface, 100% of it, even the ice that's frozen there will evaporate. It'll go through what's called subluxation. It'll go right into vapor if the air is drier. So right there, your little tiny little increase in salinity that you'll get if 100% of the surface water ice freezes, melts and goes into the ocean. You're going to have, I would say, multitudes, maybe even hundreds and hundreds of times more evaporation. Evaporation, when the water evaporates, it leaves the salt behind. Salt doesn't go up with it. This is how you make distilled water. You evaporate water. Then you condense it back. There's nothing in it. All right, now, wow, I've gone on for about 35 minutes on this. I'll try to wrap it up. We don't need to look at that. I've pretty much described what sea ice is. So his argument that we're going to have more salinity in the water is bullcrap. Now, I want to look at this because this contradicts what he says. I didn't make this table up. Hope this is the one. Oh, if we haven't looked at this, we need to look at it. These are let me read the title. What are temperature and salinity and how are they defined? It gets into the key variables in ocean expanding, contracting, all that stuff. How much does the ocean expand because of global warming? Well, temperature, okay, that's a variable. We've talked about that a little bit. We'll talk about that a little bit more. Absolute salinity, that is another variable, very good, but that's the only one Foster knows about. I argue, and anybody in oceanography will tell you, you warm the air temperature, you're going to increase salinity in the ocean. That's a fact. Even if you melt that minuscule little 15% of the surface, there is such a vast ocean, and all that salinity mixes up very well. We haven't even talked about that. Pressure. What did I say? If the temperature around the globe warms, what's going to happen? The pressure is going to lower all over the earth. You have less pressure pushing down on the ocean. It's going to want to actually recede in. You push it down, it wants to push out because water wants to always go to find its level, right? So you have pressure and salinity both working against the expansion of water. And the more you warm the temperature, the more these other two are going to be factors. God has it all built in. He's got it all built in. Let me see what else we need to look at. Oh, yeah. We definitely have to look at this. Just a moment. We're almost done, I think. Remember, I told you we're going to have lower pressure, which increases winds, correct? Now, I showed you a diagram of how the air circulates, and there's a reason why they call it air fluid dynamics, because it acts like fluid in many things. There are some exceptions, but it's enough to where air is called a fluid. We said you can get books on air fluid dynamics. Let me see if you're seeing this, guys. Very good. I'll make this larger so you can see. So how do things get into this thermosphere mixture, and how does everything work itself out? We saw how the atmosphere does. It heats, creates low pressure. Because low pressure is created, high pressure, high air pressure relative to it, feeds into it. And you have the whatever's heated too much becomes cool, and it becomes back to normal again. The same thing happens over the ocean. Let's see how that works. This is very important. Let me get here and show you. Look at this. Sea to air transfer. See, because if you have warmer air, it's going to transfer to the ocean eventually. It's much slower, but it will. I mean, much slower for the ocean as a whole. So here we have this conveyor belt. Remember, I showed you the 3 layers. Here's the surface. Here is the thermocline in the middle and the deep sea at the bottom. Well, they're probably showing the bottom of the thermocline, to be honest. So we have warm, shallow current. All right. What's happening is it goes around and around, circulates around. Okay, circulates around. I'm going to explain how this is done in a minute, and then it starts diving down through a process called upwelling, and I'll explain what that is in a minute. And this warm surface temperature begins to drop into the ocean. Guess what? It cools. When it cools, somehow it upwells. We're going to show you how that happens. Comes back up, and the process repeats itself. All right, over and over. God's plan. God made the perfect earth. It all takes care of itself. Mankind cannot do anything to destroy it because there's too many safeguards. I'm touching on the very basic ones. There's way more built in. You have things like latent heat of condensation. You ever take a thermometer and graduate it? What you do is you boil water and you stick the thermometer in it. And whatever it goes up to, that's 212 degrees. If it's a digital thermometer, if it doesn't read 212, you have to adjust it until it does. So how do you test for frozen, 32 degrees? You take a glass of water, preferably distilled. You put distilled water ice cubes in it, and you stir, just like you would stir iced tea. And you stick the thermometer at the bottom. And that is 32 degrees. Well, Rich, it's not really frozen, so it's not really 32 degrees. See, this is the arguments you get from people that don't understand the science. There's something called the latent heat of condensation. You can stir that ice all day, and it will be 32 degrees. That water will be 32 degrees. But it won't freeze because you have something called latent heat of condensation. What happens is, whether you can see it happening or not, little condensation starts to form on the glass. That releases just enough heat to keep it from freezing. Just enough energy to keep it from freezing. Latent heat of condensation. The opposite is true. Take 2 washcloths. Wet them. Lay one on the ground. Take the other one and spin it in your hand. Take the temperature on both. The one you spun is going to be colder because you have evaporative cooling. And here's another thing, since I just mentioned that, I didn't even think about talking about that. Because more water is evaporating because it can hold more because it's warmer, you have evaporation taking place. Evaporation causes cooling. So it's going to start working to cool the water as well, just like it cools the wash rag. Now, if you took that glass of ice and let's say you put it in a vacuum chamber, sucked out all the moisture in there, then you filled it back up with air that had zero moisture, none, and you open your glass up and you start stirring it, it'll freeze because there's no latent heat of condensation. There's no moisture in the atmosphere. These are little things most people don't know. So how does all this happen, and what makes this happen even more? All right. Upwelling. What happens is surface winds, waves, which are increasing because of what? Lower pressure, because of warming of the atmosphere, is causing more waves and more churning. That causes, over time, the warmer water to mix down into the thermocline, and it gets into that cycle. This is actually a good thing because it takes nutrients from the bottom, the deep sea, and brings it up. When you have upwelling, you have fantastic fishing because the fish are filled with nutrients up here. God made the perfect system. So the sea surface winds are going to increase, which is going to give you more of this right here. So it's all going to balance itself out, just like God always does with every system. It might get out of kilter for a couple of years or whatever, not to the point where it's going to flood Miami or Massachusetts. These same elite that are telling you that you should be giving your taxpayer money, Obama, to the Paris Climate Accord, are the same people buying multi-million-dollar beachfront properties. Are they worried about the ocean encroaching on them? Not hardly. So that is a quick overview. Not so quick, but 48 minutes. But sometimes these things need to be explained in detail because when people come out like Poster X and talks about the salinity from the ocean, from the ice melting, well, guess what? When that ice froze, before it ever froze, what happened when it did freeze? It took that salinity, right, and deposited in. So it's a cycle back and forth. There's no additional or subtraction, just temporary little backs and forth. If it freezes, it's going to take salinity out of the water. If it melts, it's going to put it in, but not in great detail. And like I said, these other things I've covered, evaporation, lower pressure, more wind, all these things, lower pressure, pushing down on the mercury or the water going into the thermometers, less pushing it down towards the shores. So yeah, because the atmosphere has much more room for evaporative processes and things like that, I do believe warming would cause the seas to contract. And you just can't say, well, when water's more dense when it's here and here, and it takes up more volume when it's this temperature. That's fine, isolated by itself. But the biggest factor, or the biggest factors, usually aren't thought of by these people because they don't know it. They don't think to look into it. Why? Because they trust the authority. And because they trust the authority, and because most people do, we're in the damnable condition that we're in today. So when more truth like this can get out, maybe some people wake up and say, we can't just listen to a Fauci. Listen to him if he goes on with CDC. Now, if he goes against CDC, don't listen to him. But the Bill Gates or whatever, we hold Bill Gates up as an authority on vaccines. What the hell is wrong with us? And nobody questions it except for people like us. Because the people are so brainwashed, they don't, we live in the disinformation age. The information age started in the late 1990s, early 2000s, right? Really, with the internet. How fast have we gone from the information age to the disinformation age? Any real information is taken away from you, shadow banned or blocked altogether. And you're given fact check, which they even admit the fact check is so their narrative isn't questioned. So it goes along with whatever their narrative is. So anyway, hopefully that wasn't too boring. But God's system, God built a perfect system. There are so many balances, it's unbelievable. Like I said, even on land, surface ice won't build past a certain point. Why? Because the pressure causes the bottom part of the ice to melt. Increase the pressure, the melting point changes. It'll melt at a lower temperature. And by the way, ice is always 32 degrees. Snow is always 32 degrees. Always. This is why God protects even the crops. You get all the snow over Iowa and all the farm areas. That's great. They actually will have better crops when it's snow and ice all over the ground most of the winter than when it's not. Because when they don't have, if they have really cold air, but no precipitation, no ice or snow to cover the ground temperature will start falling below freezing. And then you start killing off beneficial microbes and different things like that. Whereas if you have ice and snow cover, the ground isn't getting below 32 degrees. In fact, it's going to be a little bit warmer because the ice will and snow will act as a little bit of a blanket. White House, huh? It's the same, but let's switch to it. Switching to visual, as they would say in Star Trek. There it is. Let's see if it changes. Should happen in about 20 seconds if there's going to be a change. I wonder if they just left red light on it even during the day. How did you like when you don't think that the Supreme Court and the White House and stuff like that, they're all tied in and they're not buddy-buddy and they're enemies? Do you remember when the Supreme Court approved, what was it, same-sex marriage? Within a minute or two, the White House was lit up with the rainbow colors. I think they didn't know in advance it was coming. If Mike keeps attacking me, please someone let him know that I blocked him. Which Mike? Now, I'm not going to pretend I know everything about weather now because there has been so many advances. There have been so many advances since I was actually doing that work. There are computer models and acronyms for those models and things contained in those models I've never even seen before. It was a lot more doing it by hand when I was in there. And they've changed the names of things. There used to be a name for the air mass that was always over Arizona. It was called superior air. You would have a superior low pressure system over Arizona. That's not a thing anymore. Sort of like Pluto was a planet, then it wasn't, then it was, then it wasn't. There was another thing, Jacob Law, I came up with that makes it impossible that the millennium's already happened. I can't think of what it is. I had bad insomnia last night, so I was up till about, I think it was 6:30 this morning, and I slept until 10. I have a lot of problems with insomnia, but it's just one of those things that went through my head. I was like, no, that's another thing that, anyway, just my opinion. Mike, I don't think you can be blocked. I mean, don't anybody try it, but I always say that. Say what? That is my opinion. It is my opinion. The Bible says none of ours is going to be split in two, and the Dead Sea is going to come to life during the millennium. If the millennium's happened, that should have happened. There was something else too. There was another prophecy. It'll come to me. To me, the way I look at things, I don't care what my belief system is. If all of a sudden I hit something that makes my belief system impossible, I'd be stupid to stay with my belief system, which is what people do with the globe all the time. They have absolutely nothing. We've accumulated masses of data, observations. We've done the work. Have I seen the movie A Boy and His Dog? No. If the dog dies, I don't want to see it, though. Oh, you know what? Maybe I have seen it. It's a movie about post-cataclysmic reset. It's dope. Interesting. If this is post-millennium, they left us a mess. I'll be converted soon. I'll be. Hey, like I said, Jacob, there's nothing I'd rather be more wrong about than that. You kidding me? Yeah, JFK is dead. Even the people that are in the Q thing, they posted that JFK died. The last January that, or last December, 2021 January, very early in January, not June. Yeah, he died, and they actually showed pictures. I tried to show it on the stream one night of who it was, and I couldn't find him. Later, I did find him. You know what the problem here, Mike, is Australia seems the court has ruled the mandates are unconstitutional. We have an attorney general. There's something messed up about this system. We have an attorney general. I'm going to turn off the White House because it's obviously just going to stay red. At least that's the way it looks. We have an attorney general that always works for the president. And so Biden's attorney general, he definitely isn't going to say it's unconstitutional. He ain't going to bring anything to the Supreme Court or to any court saying that mandates of any kind are unconstitutional. He's got, and they're supposed to be advising the president what's legal and what's not legal. And Biden is saying that Biden is dictating to companies with 100 or more people. They have to get jabbed or tested once a week, or they don't get certain funding. They can't get government contracts. It's a I don't know. It's extortion. That's what it is. It's extortion. Hello, Mrs. Marks. Maria, yeah, he's a guy who was he looked rather short. That was my only thing. However, the pictures I saw of him, the way his head was shaped, and when you put that beside Kennedy's, they're like a dead match. He was 102 years old, I think, when he died, if it was him. Oh, I wish I could think of that other thing. That other prophecy. It's like this first one with the it eventually came up. I couldn't remember that one either. It's like one of those things where I thought of it and I was like, wait a minute. If we've already had the millennium, then the Mount of Olives should have split, and we should have had this and that. But then I forgot it the next day. It's like I'm half asleep, half awake. But somebody brought up the scripture on the live stream one night, and I was like, yeah, that's the one. So it'll come up. See, Australia, even though they don't have guns and things like that, they're doing a lot better than what we are. They're doing a lot better. Out there protesting, running over the police. JFK was born in 1917. Yeah, so that's right. So if he died at either December 2020 or January 2021, that would make him 102 or 103, depending on what. I don't think he was probably born right at the beginning of the year. Remember the 80s pop rock band that did Kennedy's. what is with some of these songs, man? I at the gym, there's a song that's so aggravating, and there's only one heavy metal band that I've ever liked, Twisted Sister, and this one is so damn irritating. And finally, one day I was like, I'm going to go over because they have it on a screen TV. It's not usually where I'm at. I decided to walk over to see who it was, and now it's out of my head who it was. But Guns N' Roses. I can't remember the name of the song. Oh, I know I'm going to go against a lot of people here, probably, but I cannot stand Bruce Springsteen. You know how they have 3-card Monty? There's people that have the 3 cards, and they shuffle them around. Like, show me where the king is, and they shuffle them. 3-card Monty. Same thing with the shell game, 3 different shells. Which one is the P under, right? I call him the 3-chord Monty, except it's usually 4 chords, actually. Born in the USA, through the whole damn song. You might have one little change, then it goes right back to it. He's so infuriating to listen to. Oh, and even talking, if you hear him talk, and he made all this money, he's sort of like Tom Hanks of music. Tom Hanks made all this money off of World War II and war movies and stuff, Saving Private Ryan, and he did, it's very good, but he's the one that produced Band of Brothers and all that. Couldn't care less about the military. He just wants to make the money off of the people that are into it. Couldn't care less. Now, the guy who played Lieutenant Dan in one of his movies, right, Forrest Gump, he's a real patriot. He actually goes out and entertains the troops and things like that. Sort of like the old days, Bob Hope would do that. I saw Bob Hope in person when I was on the John F. Kennedy. Yeah, Bruce Springsteen, he's like anti-American, but he has Born in the USA and there's some other patriotic song. I can remember when he first had his first song. I think it was Born in the USA, his first hit. I'm not sure. But my friend Rob was walking up the street. I was working on my car or something. Had to be something easy. Trust me, I'm anti-mechanical. Must have been putting water into the windshield washer thing. And he came up and he had, tell you how long ago this was. He had the white earbuds into a little cassette tape player. He said, "Man, you got to listen to this. You're going to love this." I was like, okay. So I put it on, and I think it was Born in the USA. And I listened to a little bit of it. I listened to about half of it. I took it out. He goes, "What do you think? Huh? Great." I was like, can't stand it. Said, first of all, whoever this is, because I don't know who he was, he can't sing. He can't. I can sing almost as good as him, and that's bad. You don't want me singing. Other than Up Go Biden. I like that song. I'll sing it. Yeah, that's right, monotone. But it's always 3 or 4 chords, and it's repeated through the whole 4 minutes of the song. It just gets on your nerves. It gets on mine, anyway. Bob Dylan, same thing. Yeah, Lieutenant Dan is a patriot. Hi, Charlie. You going to come on? No? Okay. What's happening in Canada? I saw something very early in the stream. I'm sure I can't go back that early. I can't. Somebody said that martial law is getting ready to come to Saskatchewan, I think. Thought I saw that. Bruce Springsteen and Tom Hanks were a disgrace to our country. Absolutely. I wouldn't plop down a penny for either one. I can't. There's certain movies I won't watch if certain people are in it. Who's the guy that's always played in the gangster movies? I've noticed that only on streams do I forget names like this. As soon as it's over, I know who they are. He was in Goodfellas. He was in Meet the Fockers. What's his name? If he is even part of a movie, I won't watch it. Charlie's right here. He's being a good boy. Medical martial law. Gary Busey. When did he die? He died recently, didn't he? Yeah, Willie Nelson couldn't sing either. That's true. And you know who I think I love the Beatles, but I only think one of them can really, well, two. One of them can sing, I think, pretty good. Well, both these two I think can sing fairly good. And it's not Paul McCartney or John Lennon. It's Ringo Starr and George Harrison. But I like just about anything that John Lennon did. His was the deeper thought out stuff, deeper meaning, things like that. Whereas Paul McCartney is more the she loves you, yeah, 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 that type of thing. I remember there was a Gary Sinise. Thank you so much. Thank you. There was I saw an interview where John Lennon was interviewed, and Paul McCartney had just come out with a song, and John Lennon liked it. And someone said, "What do you think about the song that he can make?" He goes, "Well, it does show he does have some musical intelligence," meaning he didn't think he normally did. But I was thinking about certain Bible verses during this presentation when I was thinking about doing it. Where Paul talks about science, so-called, and professing themselves to be wise, like people that just parrot this bullcrap science, because there's no science behind it. They just say, "Oh, they're authority, they know." The people that parrot it and defend it blindly, like Paulster and other people, professing themselves to be wise, they became fools because they're listening to the wrong people. Nope, not Joe Pesci. I like Joe Pesci. Robert De Niro, yes, somebody got it. Mrs. Marks, none of them get another dime of my money. Yep, if De Niro's in it, it's out. Sorry. Now, if like my kids were growing up now, whatever, it'd be one of those, "I'm sorry, kids, it's banned." My first wedding, my first wife, it was, I was married in 1986, and I can't remember what the second song was, but I banned two songs that were popular from them playing at the wedding. Can't remember the first one. Can't remember it. The second one was "We Are Family." We are family. And that was just a personal thing because the Pirates beat the Orioles in the World Series, and that was their theme song. So it was like, "You will not play this." He was like, "But I got it. Most people like it." I was like, "You will not play this. I'm paying you." So he didn't. I told him, I said, "If you play this, if I start hearing this song come on, you're going to be out the door right there," to the DJ. I get weird about stuff like that. Lately, ballers just say science. Well, it's like Simon Dan. Has he ever done even an observation in his life? Forget about science. Has he even done an observation? Or the professor who gets little tidbits from reading online or whatever, and he's always wrong. He's always technically wrong about some point. I mean, we should say to all the first question, we should say to anybody on the other side is, hey, bruh, do you even science? North Shore Rob, even Rich and Truth Gang late to the show, but glad to be here. Thank you, North Shore Rob. I appreciate that. He's trapped in his mom's basement. Who's that? Oh, did you hear today? Merck. You know what led the Dale and everything else up today? Merck announced they have a oral administration drug that is so much percent effective against COVID and keeps the mortality rate low or whatever. So Merck went way up, and there was some other related companies that went up with them. Probably the people that whatever are making this drug or supplying the raw materials. And it says they're waiting for emergency authorization from the FDA. What do you bet that doesn't come? I I could be 100% wrong with that, and it'll eventually get here when everybody else finally drops off this. Okay, then Merck will get its approval because that's more money to go then. Rose says, I hate to brag, but I have the same medical degree as Bill Gates. Rose, you should be on TV because he's on one panel after the other talking about how we need to do this, we need to do that. And, Bill Gates, the guy that allegedly got the COVID-19 test patented in 2015. Allegedly. That's what I heard. Don't know if that's true. That's what I heard. Journey, Don't Stop Believing, not even a huge fan of them, but AJ Brzezinski picked that one for the 2005 World Series, Chicago White Sox forever. Who's AJ Brzezinski? Is that the general manager or owner? I don't even know why you need a theme song. Anyway. Nobody can answer your question, Mike, about the kid being hurt? I didn't see it. Mike does a good job keeping me informed on the important stuff. Just like, I don't know, I get too depressed when I watch stuff, so I don't. Cindy Temple. I can't post your comment, but yep, you got it. Let me check the White House real quick for you guys, see if there's anything different. No. Same old, same old. Red. And there's no wind at all, which means we don't have global warming because there's not low pressure. It's as much science as they use. Actually, it might be a little bit more science than what they use. Yeah, so don't let anybody bamboozle you into saying, oh, see what's going to happen? The water's going to get so much, it's going to flood it out, even though the elites are buying all these multi-million-dollar properties right on the ocean front. Stick says it's hard to live stream and binge watch billions at the same time. Mike says not only interesting that it's red, but the lights are not going off like they were before. Yeah, that's what shocked me, Mike, when I looked it up. When I pulled it up, I was like, whoa, it's there. Remember, it was when I first looked at it, it was there was still daylight, or a little bit anyway, it seemed like. And yeah, it's like it stayed in this condition. It hasn't changed. Let's see what they're I guess I haven't seen, what's his name, DCM. Remember my prediction? Oh, there's another prediction of mine. It's a surprise, but it came true. Before the last minute, they'll come up with a solution to the debt ceiling. Like, when have they not? They have these little BS times where they act like everything's going to shut down, and they shut down not essential or whatever. Trust me, Congress is still getting paid. They're essential. And whatever. And they'll string it out for a week or two just for the dramatic, we're really trying to take care of this debt stuff and not overspend. And then you throw a $10 trillion bill on your face. Oh, we got it done. It has 5 arms and sucks, Def Leppard. Oh. Isaac Gein. I know Isaac Gein. I watched Isaac Gein play as a kid. Maybe not even as a young kid. He was a catcher for the Chicago White Sox during that era. Isaac Gein was the coach. AJ made history when he stole first base in Game 2 or 3 of 2005 World Series. How did he steal first base? Swing and a miss? Catcher missed the ball. I'm not sure what you mean by stolen first base. They don't count that as a stolen base, do they? No. Flat Seven says they will dump crap into the ocean just to you say I told you so. They're not worried about raising salinity levels by having these big, gigantic evaporative plants off the coast, evaporating water all the time. That increases salinity. They're not worried about that. Or decrease. Oh, that actually should help the oceans decrease. So we should build more of those, right? I'm all for that. Or every ship out there in the Navy evaporates water. The end of the world. Be well yourself. God bless yourself. Thank you. Mudhouse Red Light Sting, Roxanne. It has not changed. And I can see lights on. It looks like there's one light inside. Here, I'll show you. See the big bush on the left? That light on the bottom, just to the right of it, it looks like the inside light there is lit. And all the way on the very last light, window rather, on the right bottom, next to the other bush, that looks like it's lit behind it. Everything else looks like it's dark. But guess what? You can see lights where the fountain is. The fountain isn't running, but they got the lights on. Usually we don't even see the lights. I don't believe, unless I've missed that lately. Randy, just dropped in to see what condition my condition is in. How you doing, Randy? That's definitely red. Look, see the you can see emergency vehicles in the background flashing red. It's pretty close to the shade, just not as dense because it's spread out. But I like it better than seeing the White House in the rainbow colors that they just happened to know 30 seconds after it was announced. I was thinking about that too. Remember, my theory is that, like I say, God might use Trump. He might use Biden. He might use Obama. He might resurrect Reagan and use him. Who knows? But I was thinking about the different examples in the Bible. And a lot of times, it's like a low person. Not necessarily does the whole thing, but there could be like a senator or a House of Representative person, or maybe an attorney from one of them, all of a sudden just happens to spill the beans about something. And that just causes this cascade effect. I don't know, the way God does something, I think God is the one that's going to do this. It comes about in weird ways. I mean, it's never, I am God and here's what's going to happen. I'm now throwing out this and changing this. And you get this weird stuff. Like, how about marching around 7 times around a fortified city and then the walls just fall? Mike, when you say 1 year delta to the minute, was it posted at midnight? Because that's when supposedly it went red last night at midnight. Notice they didn't douse the American flag in red. It's got white. Well, thanks, Mike. That's good to know. That's fantastic. It's good to know. That's probably the best pseudo evidence, if you want to call it that, because we have no direct correlation that we can say for sure. But that's for a long time anyway, since the bunny at Easter, that was a good one, or the green tie, that was a good one. Tippy top shape. We haven't had anything like that in a long time. Yeah, that's my argument, Maria. God said he will never do anything without telling his prophets first. So he told the prophets that in the millennium, the Mount of Olives would be split, the Dead Sea would come to life, and the Mediterranean Sea would flow into the Dead Sea. He never told his prophets that would ever go back again. And after that, the valley where all the people passed through, because the split, of the Mount of Olives, one to the north, one part of it to the north, one to the south. It's going to come back together, and then the Dead Sea will die again, and the Mediterranean won't flow into it. We're not told that. Oh, I wish I could remember the other thing that I was thinking. Was like, I got to check that out, because I think that's also something that would be evidence today. There's no way to erase the evidence. But whatever. I hope it's true, but I don't think it is. I hope it's true, because it means we don't have to go through the mark of the beast. We don't have to go through everything that's in there. The seals, the trumpet judgments. We don't have to go through any of that. Josh says, sorry for leaving the chat last time. My life is not what it used to be. I'm on top of a mountain in the desert now just to get phone service. I don't remember you leaving the chat or talking to you and then you were gone. Maybe it happened. I don't know. Maria. Good. I'm glad you're here, Josh. Camel 2 was nothing more than an anchor baby. Oh. I didn't even see it. A boy and his dog. Bruh, do you even science? See, the thing is, one of the jokes that people it's the younger people that'll go to the gym or whatever, and someone thinks they look good or whatever, they'll get somebody to come up and say, bruh, do you even lift? To try to make them feel bad or whatever. I don't know if that's where it started, if it's popular with other stuff, but I know that's one thing that happens. Someone will be working real hard, and then they'll usually send a girl up, and she'll say, bro, do you even work out? Do you even lift? That's it. Do you even lift? The cruelty of teenagers. Who's Camel? I think she's talking about our vice president, Sherry. Camellia, it's just Camellia Harris. You tell about somebody who's got no popularity. Oh, you know what I did? I went through and looked at, it was NBC, of course. They had a bunch of Joe Biden stuff. Oh, him coming out saying, and I started to laugh at this. Whoever came up with this, I can't remember who it was, who put the meme up with it, get vaccinated. He put the meme with the big face like that. I think about that all the time and crack up. I was looking for that, the actual video where he did that. He was like, get vaccinated. He did that big smile face or whatever. And, they have all these different videos of him up there saying, you need to do this, and it's your fault if you don't do it. And we've waited long enough for you people, and blah, blah, blah. So I went down and looked, and there were like 400 likes, 5,000 dislikes, every single one. It was big time. But Camilla Harris, whatever you say her name, she's actually worse in popularity. It's hard to believe. Monkey Wars calls it flashbang. I stopped watching Monkey Wars because I didn't get anything out of it. It was like the same thing every day. And there's a lot of activity today overloaded. So what does that mean? And now today there isn't. It just to me it doesn't lead anywhere. The China occupying the White House. They picked the person occupying the White House. Hey, Mike, any update on when they're going to see the routers, or the person they agreed on was going to show them the routers information? Any update on when that's actually going to be? I haven't heard anything. I haven't searched deeply, but I haven't. Usually that kind of stuff will pop up in my feed. You cannot super chat, Zillion Joe, because my content about 2 months ago, I don't know how I let myself do this, but my content went against CDC guidelines, believe it or not. And then they came out and said that after that my content was not advertiser friendly, so they demonetized me. I have applied to be monetized again, and they said it would take a month to let me know. And it's been over a month, and I haven't heard a word. I can monetize Wake the Republic, but I haven't done it. CalPal, you got it. There's Patreon, there's PayPal, there's the Cash App. I even think there's a Bitcoin address. There's all kind of different ways that you can support me, and it's much, much better. It's in the description. And PayPal, no fees if you say you're sending money to a friend or relative, one of the two. No fees. And even if there is fees, it's minuscule. 1% or something like that. Whereas Super Chat, it's 30% goes to them. 30% to YouTube and PayPal combined. Oh, good. Mike just sent this to me. This is from Wendy Rogers. She's in the Arizona Senate. I think she's the head of it, isn't she? Anyway, I spoke to Senate President Karen Fann about the routers and the spunk logs. She says that the lawyers are working with Shadegg on the selection of IT experts, and they have to, I guess, pick the people. And the cyber ninjas, Doug Logan and Cypher Ben Cotton, are involved. Doug and Ben are currently preparing the documents with all of the data they need. I will keep you updated with info as I get it. I appreciate that. Thank you, Mike. I'm still waiting, though, on the soon-released backpacks in Atlanta. Still haven't seen it. I think someone squelched that. Well, thank you, Azillion Joe. Yeah, PayPal is, I think the Cash App is free. Venmo is free. Venmo is free as long as you're willing to wait 1 to 3 business days to collect it out. Even if you're not willing to wait, if you need the money right away, it's like 1%, I think. But 30% goes to YouTube and PayPal combined on their Super Chat. I mean, I appreciate everybody that donated always, no matter how, but even through the Super Chat or whatever. In fact, most people like to do it that way. I guess it's convenient. I don't even know how you set up Super Chat. I guess you give them your credit card information once, and then actually I did that. I just been so long ago I can't remember. And then when you want to donate, it just automatically comes out. Jacob Ball says Arizona is the point of the spear. Yeah, it's slowly gaining momentum. No, Zane Joe, no. If you use Super Chat, YouTube takes the money through PayPal, and those two combined through Super Chat get 30%. But if you donate in the description, if you donate through that straight through PayPal, it's no fees at all if you're giving it to a friend or relative, and if you're not, it's a low fee, 1% or 1.3%. It's nothing major. In fact, any of the ones I have listed in the description, the different ways, that you can support this channel, and I appreciate everybody that does it. Trust me, I really appreciate it. Like I said, God takes care of me every single month. I'm like, how am I going to get enough money for this? And somebody will donate, and it works. It's just amazing. But those are the cheapest ways for both you and for me. Yeah, if someone gave $100 through, or every $100 through the super chat, I would get 70. And guess what? You got to wait. You have to wait a whole month before you even get the 70. Thank you, Sticks. Sticks covered the information. Hey, Mike, what's happening with your, I don't know what is it your stepson or whatever, the one I talked to that was in the Army? Has he said anything about mandatory or whatever and what he's going to do with, I mean, he doesn't really have a choice, but we read that, I think, what we read that the Navy and Marines head into, I think, November or something. That's right, Nikki, and PayPal to friend. And they don't charge any fees to you or me. There's no fees to you anyway, as far as I know. But there's no fees to me either if it's to a friend. You got it, Flat Sabbath. 100% greed, and they're the ones that tell you. They're see, the advertisers, they don't care. They just want their message to get out. They're not going to say, I mean, there's probably some of these leftist ones. I don't want my advertisement on somebody's doing a video about killing animals or eating meat or something, whatever, or promotes whatever. They don't care if you're talking about. They want their message out. They want people to buy their product. They don't care if you're talking about flat Earth. They don't care if you're talking about just about anything. PayPal, that's their way of punishing you for not going along with the plan. It's 1984 George Orwell is what it is. That's the little whip they crack. Then after a little bit, they say, I'm going to try again, hoping your content switched. I'm willing to dance around it, but I'm not going to switch my content or my belief system just because of money, especially because of money. That tells me I'm on the right track. You got that right. Higher rate than loan sharks. He's deployed in South Korea. I haven't talked to him in months. Is he your stepson? I'm not sure what the relationship there. I really enjoyed talking to him, though. I was pleasantly surprised that he was pretty much on the same thought process with a lot of stuff that we're on. I mean, I don't know where he stands with Flat Earth and all that. We didn't get into that, but I don't think we did. But as far as political and the way things should be, but I think about him because he's not going to have a choice. But I thought he said he only had so long to go and then he was getting out. I don't know. I could be confusing him with somebody else. My son is his brother. Gotcha. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I know they definitely were acting like brothers when I was there, because Cody went over to him. I got to tell you something. Not here. Let's go outside. I was like, yeah, that's brothers. How's Cody doing? Imagine he's doing well. William Witt, that's all you have to say tonight. 50 years of studying the Bible and science. Studying the Bible and science. And William, do they agree? Do they ever disagree? Well, I'm talking about real science, not bullcrap science. Nixon, when it turned me on to 9/11, he was awake ahead of me. And when it turned him on the flat Earth. Oh, awesome! That's good to hear. That's good to hear. threw a Marine officer and leveled him for nothing. This is insanity, isn't it? Like I said, most of the things that these people get away with, like the Attorney General in Arizona, supposedly he had it weeks before the public did. That was the schedule. He should have had indictments and what's the thing? Grand juries convened already. I think Trump has endorsed his opponent in the race, which I understand why. I think it's a woman. Oh, he's also endorsed the woman who's going to run against Ducey in Arizona. Governor Tyrannical Ducey is his name. T. Ducey. What about from Ursa Major and Minor? You talking about Ursa Minor is Polaris is in there. Ursa Major is the ladle, the soup ladle. It points to it always. Funny how that never changes. Well, this rich is so many billions of miles away and trillions of miles and trillions of light years or whatever, that even though the Earth is moving at millions of miles per year or whatever per day, it's just so far away there's no parallax. Yep, Big Dipper is Ursa Major. My 9 and 10-year-old nieces call me bruh. It's a thing. Yeah, I guess it is probably with the young. White House is exactly the same, no change, except I thought I saw, there was like shadows going across where the flagpole is. I don't see it now. It's so weird. Now it's 11:45 p.m. Biden's long been sleeping wherever he really lives. Oh, I got something from my son, Michael, today. I totally forgot about this. It's someone got pictures on Instagram in a fake White House. And I'll be darned, like this is where the Biden got his booster. I wonder if I can make it big enough for you guys to see. Yeah. Here he is. Of course, he's got a mask on and she's got a mask on. This is a booster. She's had to have at least her first one, right? Because she's in the White House. She's on federal property. It's mandated. Look at the tree back there. It looks tropical. Big old, there's nothing that I remember on the East Coast that grew. It won't stay big. It keeps shrinking as soon as I let go of it. Let's see. Maybe I can do that. Anyway, it's got these really big leaves, tropical looking leaves. And the next picture. Oh, this picture here, they're showing cameras set up, like where the fourth wall should be, like what you see on TV. And they're setting up. See, she's. I know it's blurry, but there he is sitting there. But anyway, I was like, where do you get these pictures? Because they're awesome. Anyway, if they're not modified in any way, it is fake. It's a set. In fact, there's lights on the top. Oh, my son Zach just sent me this. Holy crap. California mandating vaccines for kids. Unbelievably sick. I'm not even anti-vaccine. He's not really awake. He's like he should be. He's going with CDC guidelines. But I'm definitely pro you decide. Very happy to see even on CNN's YouTube channel, 3K likes to 17K dislikes. It does say subject to exemptions for medical reasons, personal beliefs. Wonder how long that will hold. He's starting to wake up. He's starting to see how the game is played. I send him stuff all the time regarding this stuff because he thought everything was very kosher with everything. Goodbye, Bob William Witt. Hopefully I didn't miss something that you want me to see. Oh, started reading the Bible when I was 8. I am 58. King James is not a language many understand in today's English. That is true. Wow, we're pretty similar there, William. I was a Christian at a very young age, even before 8, I think. I've always believed, I just have. And that's a different story, but I remember going to Sunday school at a Presbyterian church, and I believed it all from the beginning. So I don't have the conversion experience that most people have. Although, you know how it is. Then you go through your teen years, and you're sort of back and forth. Not back and forth, but I always believed, but I always didn't live the belief. If you know what I mean. Josh says, don't get hung with the liars on TV. They're all liars. The sky's rolling up as I scroll more and more every night. Let us hope. Really, Carbide? My God. My dog won't stop barking. He has a possum cornered. That is exactly what it is, North Shore Rob. His third term. He said he always wanted to be in the ear of a guy instead of being back there. And that's why you always get, not always, but you get times where Biden's like, salute the Marines, like he's repeating something. Make sure you say this or whatever. He's either that demented or he's listening to somebody. He's demented for even saying it out loud. And you mean to tell me, after all the tyrannical stuff in California, that even a lot of the Democrats were saying was over the top? He was more popular in the recall election than before. If you don't change the machines, you're never going to change the outcome. They're just going to keep winning by bigger and bigger margins, and because what will happen then is they think that'll convince more and more people that they got to be wrong if you're not one of the 90% on their side. That's right. I saw that. I didn't actually watch it, but I saw the headline. Pelosi said it on camera the other day. Obama's agenda. I did see that. Rich Spillman says Biden's confused like Bush with inside and outside words. Got to change. They got to fix the machines. I don't care what they do with the paper ballots and all. I mean, that's important, but vast majority of the ballots are going through paper or going through the machines. And why? Yeah, they don't even try to hide stuff anymore. You got it right, North. They could come out with an expert. Oh, what did I see the other day? There's now the same guy. Check this out. Think of the logic behind this. The same guy who promoted demoting Pluto as a planet. It's a big bull crap anyway. They just come up with this stuff every so often, like they're making these new discoveries or whatever. It's just bullcrap. Anyway, let's just say it's all true. He said Pluto had to be demoted as a planet because it crossed the path of another planet that was closer to the sun. It at times of the year, it crosses Uranus's path. I wonder why over the 100 billion years of all of our evolution, why they never hit each other, because their paths cross. Well, you don't understand, Rich. They're on a little bit different dimensional plane. Yeah, okay. They always have some kind of stupidity to put in there. But anyway, so now they're calling something Planet 9X, I think that he's calling it. It's the same guy. And he said it should be a planet. They just discovered it. And it crosses Mercury and Venus's path. It goes, if I saw the diagram right, it doesn't quite come to where Earth is. How convenient. But it crosses those two and then goes back out. So it looks like a comet's path, the way they show a comet's path. And he says that deserves to be a planet. It's like, wait a minute. You demoted Pluto after they put a face of Pluto on it and showed it with a bright spot and dark around the edges when the sun is barely brighter than Venus. And they named one of the craters on there after the guy that did the actual moon landing footage, Stanley Kubrick. After all that, you demoted it. Texas audits are in phase 1. If they're like Arizona, Anna, the phases are slow. That's just the way it is. They'll get there, but it's slow. Slow boat to China. What you have is you have these idiots who are always for election transparency and things like that, blocking things. You're not allowed to look at that. You're not allowed to look at this. You can't examine that. You're going to have to get a subpoena for that. And if you do, they play the game. But yeah, they'll get some expert. If they had an expert come out, like I said, I've said this before. I like it. Sorry, I know it's gross, but I like it. If they said that if you stuck your thumb up your butt and kept it there for a certain amount of time, you wouldn't get COVID, people would do it. It also it could come from Bill Gates. People would do it. That's how dumbed down they have the people, combined with indoctrination. Everybody is so indoctrinated and dumbed down at the same time. They knew what they were doing this whole time with the education system and the getting a degree, 33rd degree, getting a degree. The most indoctrinated people are the doctors, medical or PhD. They're the most indoctrinated. Like I said, when I went back, thank God I didn't finish my degree until later. I remember once someone said, "You don't have a degree." You know how I know that? Because you don't talk like they do. You wouldn't say this certain things. It's like, well, I was awake when I got my degree. I didn't get it when I was a teenager like most people. A vintage. I've read, I'm not going to read, I'll put it up there, but I read where they said you should get a booster because even if you had the disease, and the reason is because we don't know how long natural immunity lasts. Well, you don't know how long it lasts on the inoculations to start with either. You thought they were going to last at least a year, but now you're getting boosters after months. And so this stuff is so easy to think through. They're giving me bull crap. Always follow CDC guidelines, though. But that's the reason. Because you don't know, even if you had it, you don't know how long that immunity lasts. Like we know how long it lasts. Does it last 2 years? Oh, we don't know. We haven't even had it around for 2 years. We haven't had clinical studies for more than 6 months. You got it, never mind. It's a brilliant plan to hijack the brightest minds through the education system. And they've done it. Well, that's what they're doing, Vintage. They're saying even if you have natural immunity, it could wear out at any time, so you might as well get the shot. Follow the money. Josh, I don't have COVID. Does it mean I put my finger up my bum? Must be. I've been around 3 people that have had it in the contagious stage. They had a fever, and I don't have it. Never got it. You know what I've been doing with my thumb? But what I think is really funny about all that is I was joking about that. And then just after that, the Chinese were telling people from the Biden administration to bend over. They were going to swab them up the rear. And they did. And then the Chinese, after they got the laugh, they apologized to the Biden administration. They fell for it. You talk about indoctrinated? The people Biden sent over there bent over and allowed the swab up the butt. Then they came back and, Uncle Joe, guess what they did? So then they had to apologize. Boy, I bet you they had a big laugh over that. You're right, Carbide, but I don't want to tread those waters because YouTube might think it's against something. Mrs. Marsh says, I probably already had it. I know one thing that I had that I was doing something. They tested for I have a test for the antibody coming soon. I just have to look for it. So yeah, I may have had it, but I can tell you as of June, I haven't had it. At least they say the antibodies weren't there. You know what? They could actually say the antibodies aren't there, and they are. Just so you'll go out and think you're not protected, so you better get protected. It's bad. And now they're trying to come up with a home test. A home test. I wonder how much that's going to cost the people, because you're going to have to pay for that one. And people are going to line up to get it. Watch. What happened to the common sense up until this, where if you're sick, stay home. If you have a fever in particular, you're contagious. Stay away from people. Otherwise, continue on life as usual. Now all of a sudden it's you might not feel bad, and you might be exposed to not know it, so you got to stay home, stay away from, if you've been around somebody for, remember the 2 weeks? 2 weeks! Everybody had to quarantine. 2 weeks. Then they started lowering that number because they're like, maybe that's pushing a little too far. House is bigger than dog, you're safe. Mr. CYA mentioned that a vaccine hasn't been created yet. How can I find evidence of that? I missed that conversation. I don't even know what it is. Flatten your own curve. Mike just sent something about more Durham indictments from drip to flood. Let's see what it says. Durham issues new subpoenas in probe of FBI Russia investigation, targets Clinton campaign law firm. Subpoenas, not indictments. Well, generally, if you have a subpoena, you probably have at least convened or are convening a grand jury. Maybe these people are going to go testify. Special counsel John Durham, allegedly now tapped by the Trump administration to audit the Russia investigation, has reportedly handed down a new set of subpoenas, including a law firm with ties to Hillary Clinton's 2016 campaign. This was published yesterday. The grand jury subpoenas for documents were issued early. There was a grand jury. The grand jury subpoenas, I know a little bit about the law. Where the grand jury subpoenas for documents were issued earlier this month, according to CNN, the most trusted name in news. After Durham charged Clinton campaign lawyer Michael Sussman, for allegedly knowingly making a false statement to the FBI. If I did that and you did that in 2016, do you think we'd still be out of jail? Waiting for whatever. I won't get into that. It's just there's always one treatment for the elite and one treatment for the rest. Long ago, the blindfold is over the statue of what is it? Not Lady Law. What's it called? There's a statue, and it's supposed to indicate that the law is blind to whoever you are. Sort of like a mask saving you from stuff. Anyway, always follow CDC guidelines. The indictment against Sussman states that the former federal prosecutor lied to the top FBI lawyer, James Baker. Haven't heard that name in a long time. Remember, there was two James Bakers, not to be confused with the James Baker of the Bush administration. In a meeting on September 19, 2016, he lied, supposedly, allegedly, possibly, to the FBI. How come the FBI can lie to you, but you can't lie to the FBI? They can make up anything they want. That's any police. At that time, Sussman presented data and analysis from cybersecurity researchers who suspected the Trump organization was using a secret server to communicate with Alpha Bank. Anyway, I remember when I've told the story before, I won't tell it again, but the FBI raided my house once, and I asked to see the search warrant, and I didn't get it for hours. In the meantime, they separated all of us in the house and interrogated us. They thought that we were doing some sort of pornography in the house, and we didn't know the reason, but they were asking different things. They got my wife off into a corner and said, "Look, it's either one of two people. It's either your husband or your oldest son," because everybody else was too young. It's one of the two. Which one would you say it is? She said, "I'm not going to finger anybody. I don't think it's either one." But you know what they did? They lied. The one guy, the main guy, he was talking to me. He said that there were videotapes of my daughter, who was 12 at the time, being filmed for pornography in the basement of my house. It was a 100% made up lie. He just wanted to see what my reaction would be. But they can lie to you all day long. Everybody read Mike's comment. I can't post it. Hello, country boy. Dispelling, they always lie, never talk to the police ever. Hey, I had a question for Michael Pyle, if he's still here. I think there's a trap when you get pulled over for speeding, but I'm not sure. But I think it is. Because what they always do, they come up and say to you, the first thing they say to you is, if they pulled you over for speeding, do you know how fast you were going? Now, that's a bad thing to answer, because if you say, yeah, I was doing 72 and it was a 65, whatever, then you just admitted to breaking the law. Where if you say, no, I don't know, then you weren't aware of what was going on, and so you were driving recklessly. So I think that's a trap. I think the best answer to that is something like, do you know how fast you were going? You just look up and say, I guess I'm going to find out. Right now, tell me. Something like that, because otherwise, you're trapped. You know why I pulled you over? No answer. Yeah, my mother used to work at a law firm. And for years, they would say, never make a statement to the police. I don't care how simple or innocent you think you are, because if you say the wrong thing, they can be turned on you. Sticks. Like, how often do you beat your wife? Oh, man. Country boy, population control. I was thinking that last night in my insomnia. That's cool, back from war. I would say yes and give no number. Yes, I do know how fast I was going. Do you know how fast I was going? Let's see if we agree. How much do you say I was going? Or cares? Never talk to police, FBI, get attorney. My problem is I'm too poor to get an attorney. It's everything is part of trials and tribulations. Could be. It's like, for a second, my heart sunk. I mean, I really felt bad for a second. And then I realized, like, wait a minute, this bullshit. Because I know what was going on in my house. I'm not one of those parents that's just like, all right, guys, you take care of yourself, kids. Me and Mom will be back in about 6 hours. No. Anyway, long story short, what they did was they confiscated all the computers in the house that I had access to or the oldest son had access to, which was everyone but one. I had a business with an insurance company with one. Lost it. Got the computers back. You ready for this? 4 or 5 years later, and that's only after I inquired, because you don't want to make a lot of noise early because they might find something to come up with. This happened in 2001, 1 month before 9/11, and it was 2005 or 6 that I got the computers back. And we had gone to flat screens. So when I get it back, I get these big monitors, these old, slow computers. It was just, we should have just thrown them in the dumpster, would have been the same thing. And that's what happened to them anyway. They were no good anymore. That's when the technology was really going fast. When you had to buy a computer every couple of years, because then otherwise you were outdated. Answer the cop with another question. Do you know what the infinite curvature of the earth is? Or if he says you were doing 72 and a 55, you say, well, what was the distance? Because it's 8 inches per mile squared. And if you're not taking that into consideration, then I've actually traveled more area than what you're actually considering. So I was going slower. You come up with something like what? Might throw you in a nut house. All right, guys, I'm going to go 2 hours. I am fighting a headache tonight, but it's not that bad. Not as bad as the one that lasted 2 days. I told you about before why I wasn't here Monday. So we'll come back Monday, God willing, and everything works okay. And tonight or tomorrow, remember we read last time from Keanu Reeves, whoever that is, on Telegram. The news should be out of the bag. The whole thing should spill out by tomorrow. Remember we said don't hold your breath? Well, anyway. So, anyway, hopefully the first 40 minutes of whatever it was of this is something that you can clip and give reference to someone who gives you this global warming bull crap, and that the oceans are going, especially the ocean stuff. They don't know the science. They don't know what God knew in advance to do, so that man is not going to be able to destroy the earth. He just can't do it. God's got all the safeguards in there. If it gets too cold, he's got mechanisms to warm it up. If it gets too warm, he's got mechanisms to cool it down. That's just the way it is. And I didn't even get into the point where if you have more, because the whole thing is there's so much salinity, it's like, anyway, I won't get into it. Sorry. Good night, Jacob Law. Glad you were here. Good night, Mike Ball. Glad you were here for a while. Say hello to Dakota for me. And we got to get together at some point so I can give you my my thing. My flying thing. Why do I lose words? I lose words on. I think it's because I'm reading other words. Maybe that's why. But anyway, I had an interesting thing to do with that, Mike. The problem is you can't go too far with it. You can't do it at the Salton Sea because there's no cell towers, not satellites. But I was thinking if we did a laser test, we could take what is the thing called? Drone. We could take the drone, and you can set the drone to be, if you have GPS, if you have cell towers, you can set it to like, okay, go in this line and go out for however long it is, and then come back. And you could shoot a laser across and show from the shore all the way out that the thing isn't bending up or down. But I thought how many, does anybody know the person that did the video? It was, I want to say about a year ago now. He was on ice. He was on a frozen lake. And he took 3 lights. I think one was at 5 miles, one was at 7 miles, and one was at 8 miles. It was like red, green, and blue or something were the colors. And he just laid the light down on the ice at these mile increments. And then he from the starting point, which is 5 miles away or 6, whatever the starting one was, and then 7 and then 8 miles, he had them all 3 in the camera. And he had the camera right above the ice. There was no difference. There was no less dense area to shoot through or more dense. He was on the ice, shooting from the ice and across the ice. And all 3 lights, which should have all 3 been impossible to see. Not only could you see them, but they were all on the same plane. It was incredible. I got to find it. Back for more solid video. It was amazing. You know what? It was so amazing I probably didn't save it. I just got to look for it. He lives in Canada. It was fantastic. There's no refraction to deal with there. None. Well, there's no refraction anyway, as I've covered. Can you believe that Paulster still wants me to watch a video because I don't understand Snell's law on refraction? Can't make it up, man. Cannot make it up. He thinks we're still looking up. This is why I said shining a flashlight at night or a laser, because some of them can't get out of their head. Well, it's the angle of sunlight. No, you're the source on the one shore. Yes, flat stuff. It's so basic and easy. But when the brain is indoctrinated into a deep-rooted belief system, you'd probably be easier talking them into committing suicide. Just, you need to jump off the building, man. You just need to do it. Than to convince them that they're wrong about the shape of the earth. It is that strong. Routine. Awesome. Oh, Mike's got the link. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Yes, there. Oh, it was yellow, red, and blue. Awesomeness. Can I subscribe to this guy? Solar water heat cloudy day test. Solar vacuum tube makes. He's doing tests. Solar vacuum test. Steel and concrete. He's doing all kinds of solar prep. We do the work. We do the freaking work. Now, some of this is him with solar panels and stuff, but it says he's only got 13 videos. Why can't I? Oh, wait a minute. Hold it. That's just one section of his. This guy does tests with everything. He's a good guy. Where is the, why won't it let me subscribe? Incredible. Go there again. We don't want you to subscribe to this channel. There it is. Playlist. Let's see if he's got it here. Well, this guy is Mr. Mechanical. We'll have to find, maybe it's the CR. No, I don't know what it is. Where it is. I'll find it. Blinded with Science. What is that a channel? See, that was pretty reliable so far. Yeah, it's still, I think that's one of the ultimate questions. Yeah, I know. He'll never look into it. But he does, when they bring up things like this, it is so easy to show that they'll cherry pick. Like he went to the little teeny bit of surface ice that's there compared to the gigantic amount of water, and thinks if that all melts, the whole ocean salinity is going to drop, and so it'll expand. When he doesn't understand the aspects of how God put it all together. Check, balance. It's all check and balance. It's all get out of kilter. All right, God's got a mechanism to get it back in kilter again. Every time. Even the land breeze to sea breeze thing. If one warms too much compared to the other, the wind will shift to equal it out. Creates low pressure. If the land heats up faster than the water, then it does. So in the middle of the afternoon, I always get them confused, sea breeze and land breeze, because it seems backwards to me. When the water's coming off the water, that's a sea breeze, but I think if it's heading towards land, it's called a land breeze. Whatever, it doesn't matter. If you create low pressure on the land, you'll get wind from the ocean. And this is what happens anyway, because this is another part of his argument they don't even understand. You're standing on the shore. Your density is different than the water. Well, if it's in the afternoon, I don't care what the temperature of the water is. Everybody on the shore, everywhere, is getting the breeze off of the water. You practically got the same air. We're a couple of feet from the freaking water. It's not like we're back 10 miles. Everybody, when you get that breeze off the water, it's every direction. Because low pressure over the land, because it's hotter, is causing the air from the water in every direction to fill out. So there's no difference, even if there was a Snell's law thing, and there isn't. But you're right, they'll never get it, never, ever, ever. But they pick up these little things, and most people don't know, there's a lot more than just salinity in the water, or temperature. We covered there's pressure. There's all kind of factors, and God balances it out every single time. This whole carbon emissions bullcrap, Krakatoa, in one explosion, put so much of that into the air, and sulfur and other things, that mankind probably couldn't do it for the next 1,000 years. And guess what? Yeah, there was a sort of a nuclear winter. Oh, here's another thing I didn't even mention. Did you know that the warming is greatest in the southern hemisphere, which is furthest away from the industrial CO2 pollutants and all that, right? And guess what? The northern hemisphere, using their terms, and the southern hemisphere, they barely mix at all. Yeah, there's a little bleed back and forth, but not much. You have the intertropical convergence zone around the equator, which the way the air flows there kind of blocks each half from mixing. And then you have the jet streams, which don't go north-south through the equator. They go west to east, or east to west. So the mixing doesn't happen much. So why is it warming more in the south? These are simple questions that I'll never answer. Maria, I'm turning into. Thank you, Maria. God bless. All right, guys. Have a great night. See you Monday. Hopefully we'll have some more good news. And hopefully real quickly, look at the White House. Dark. Nothing. Oh, you know what? I bet it changed at midnight. I bet it was a 24-hour thing. Anyway, because the first is over. All right, guys. God bless. Have a good weekend. Stay safe. Go by CDC guidelines, and we'll see you Monday. Take care. Thanks, everybody. Great participation.